The information provided on the Lights On radio show is general information only and not a substitute for professional advice. None of the views expressed in the show are the views of Alive 90.5. Please seek professional help for any topics discussed on the show.
Thank you for joining me again today. It's Friday. It's time for the Lights On radio show. My name is Naomi Stockman and you are listening to Alive 90.5. So it's the last week of the school holidays. Yay for all the parents out there that have been juggling vacation care, juggling kids, and, you know, the kids are ready to go back to school now. So everything goes back to normal next week for people with children, and that's me, and so I am looking forward to that next week. Let's get into some music. Let's get into the show. I'll be back shortly to talk about conflict in relationships. It will be very interesting, so stay tuned.
Alive 90.5.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. You are listening to Alive 90.5. I am Naomi Stockman. I am here to talk with you today about something that affects every couple: conflict in relationships. Now, let's be real. No relationship is without disagreements. But here's the secret. Conflict is not the enemy. It's how we handle that conflict that makes all the difference. And I know conflict is something that we don't look forward to. We don't want conflict, but it can be a really empowering thing to work through it. So today I'm diving into the art of healthy conflict resolution in order to help you and your partner build a stronger, lasting relationship. So whether you're married, engaged, or just, dating, let's go through some tips that might save you from an uneasy and unnecessary argument or even cause you heartbreak. So first of all, I want to say that conflict is normal. It is normal, and it's how you handle it that matters. It's not how you deal with the good times. It's how you deal with the conflict that sets a relationship up for success and longevity. So first of all, conflict is inevitable. You cannot go through life without conflict. Avoiding conflict is not a solution to conflict. It does not mean that your relationship is failing. In fact, research shows that couples who never argue may actually be avoiding having real conversations. Relationships where there are no arguments, one person must always be putting their own thoughts down. It's not possible for two people to agree all the time. And it's not possible for us to not activate any kind of emotional response in the other person. So somebody needs to be pushing their emotions down and agreeing to the other person. This is not a long-term strategy because sooner or later that will crack. So the key is to fight. It is to fight fair and to communicate with respect. So think about it. Have you ever had a disagreement that started small and then just exploded, got out of hand, just because of the way it was handled? So maybe people said things that they shouldn't have said. Maybe they, ran away, or maybe it was the tone of voice. It just didn't go well. And you think, how did, a fork in the sink end up with where we are now, like in a complete train wreck? That is why healthy relationship conflict resolution and understanding how to do that is so important. So let's go through some golden rules to keep in mind when we reach conflict. And this is as important for me in my relationship as it is for you in yours. So I'll run through a couple now and then we'll go to some music and we'll come back. So let's go. Rule number 1, never fight to win. So there is never a winner in an argument. If there is one person that wins in the argument, then the relationship loses. It's like that saying says, you might have won the battle, but you lose the war. So instead of fighting to win, work towards a solution. Always think in a conflict, where do I want this to end up? Because our ego says, I'm right, I want to win. This person's wrong or they've done this to me, the ego will seek to win. So we need to get that little ego, become aware of it, park it to the side, and then think about what is the outcome I want to achieve. Now, most of us will agree that what we want is a happy relationship. So getting from conflict to a happy relationship might need a little bit of big adult calm brain activity to be able to think about that outcome while you're actually in the conflict. Rule number 2, listen to the other person. You know that saying that says seek first to understand, then be understood? When we are in communication, especially in arguments, our brains are firing with replies. We want to be heard. We want to say our piece. But it's really important to be able to listen to understand and don't think about your comebacks. Just take a moment to really hear what it is that your partner's saying, because quite possibly and highly probably they have a side of this story that needs to be heard as well. And until you understand, you're not actually in a good position to respond. Rule number 3, take a pause. If you are really, really emotionally activated, if you feel like you just want to hit something or someone and you are ready to all cannons blazing, that's not the time to solve any kind of relationship crisis, because in that time you're too heated and you're probably going to say some things that you regret in the heat of the moment. So let's take a break and talk when you're calm. And on that note, we're going to take a break now, go to some sponsors, go to some music. I'll be back shortly to continue on with this topic about healthy relationship, conflict resolution. You're listening to Alive 90.5 with me, Naomi Stockman, and this is the Lights On radio show. Thanks for listening.
Looking for the best clown party ever? The Clown Company is here to bring the fun, laughter and magic straight to your next event. Magic shows, balloon artists, face painters, we offer it all. Our talented, costumed entertainers are the life of the party. Look, a 9 balloon animal. Visit theclowncompany.com.au or call us on 1300 MTFU. That's 1300 683 968. MTF means make the fun, and we bring the fun to you. Station sponsor.
And you're back with me, Naomi Stockman, on the Lights On radio show, and we're talking about healthy conflict resolution, and I've been through a few little tips here. Don't fight to win. Listen. Make sure you understand the other person before you reply, and just take a pause if you're really emotionally activated before you speak. Now, did you know that there is a right way to argue? So it's about respect, and it's about speaking from your own point of view and not doing any of the rules in my personal way of operating is to, number one, I've got a couple of rules. Never justify, explain or defend, because that is putting myself into a situation where I am kind of coming from the back foot. The second thing is that I try very hard to communicate how I feel and how I am affected by what the other person is doing, rather than name calling and blaming. So no name calling and no blaming, and definitely no profanity, because those kind of things are very what my old boss back in the year 2005 said. Most dysregulation in relationship is caused by inflammatory language. So that's that blaming, that name calling, and the accusing and the judging and all that kind of stuff. So what you can say, and here's an example, is instead of saying, "You never listen to me," so that's an accusation, a judgment and a blame. So you never listen to me. Instead of saying that, you can say, or try saying, "I feel unheard when we talk about important things." So I feel unheard is about me. It's about my experience. I'm communicating to the other person how I am feeling and what my experience is. So by using I statements, so that prevents your partner from feeling attacked, and it might make them a little bit more open to listening. So saying things like "you always" and you never, that's a generalization. So that those generalizations are always going to be untrue for a start, and they are very accusatory, which is destructive. And let's not forget tone of voice. Tone of voice is so important. So I think something like 53% of your communication is conveyed in your tone of voice, the meaning of what you mean. So if you might be saying something, the right words, but if your tone is sarcastic or dismissive or aggressive and angry, then that's going to affect the way that your communication is received. So let's give it a shot here. So I can say, look, I feel unheard. I feel unheard when we talk about important things. Or I could say, like, yeah, well, I feel unheard when we talk about important things. Or you could say, I feel unheard when we talk about things. And you can hear that it's a completely different meaning based on the tone. It means something different. So the next part I want to cover off is about apologising and forgiving. And again, an apology is only worth the genuineness of the apology. If it's just a throwaway, look, I'm sorry, whatever, that's not going to land very well. So it's about thinking, is there something that I have contributed to this situation that I need to be accountable for, and can I take accountability for that and apologise? Remembering not to apologise because you want something back, but just actually because you want to own it and because you feel genuinely sorry. So own it, apologise for it, and that goes such a long way in opening the door for resolution. Having said that, don't be the person that just says, I'm sorry for this, I'm sorry for that, I'm sorry for this. I like to also thank the other person. So instead of saying, I'm sorry, say, look, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being patient when I was, not doing the right thing or whatever it is. And there's a flip side of apologising, because there's the apology and then there's the forgiveness. And so if we're going to apologise, we also need to be able to forgive, because holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. If you want your relationship to last, you need to learn to forgive just as much as you need to apologise. Let it go. There's nothing worse than something that happened last year and the other person keeps dragging it up and dragging it up. It's in the past. Draw a line in the sand, step over it, move on. And that's a really, really important thing, because when you can't let something go, it does cause relational toxicity. So let's go to a break. Let's go to some more music and some sponsors, and I will be back very shortly to continue on with this topic. Thanks for listening to the Lights on Radio show with me, Naomi Stockman.
We all know businesses that don't answer their phones sound unprofessional and lose new customers. Every business can have a turnkey receptionist team answering calls for just $1 per day plus call charges. Stop sending your customers to voicemail and join the hundreds of smart businesses using turnkey receptionists by calling 02 8069 9111 now and ask about our 3 free offer. turnkeyreceptionist.com.au. Station sponsor. Station sponsor.
Alive 90.5.
Conflict resolution, conflict solution, fighting, arguing, domestics, all of that stuff. It's inevitable. We all need to be able to learn how to resolve conflict in a healthy, constructive way that will build the bond in the relationship, increase our understanding, and help the relationship to endure and grow stronger. So we don't fight to win. We need to listen. We've got to make sure we don't have conversations when we're too emotional. Take a break first. Use I statements. Tell the other person how you are feeling. I feel unheard. I feel disrespected. Use the I statements and make sure your tone of voice is positive or constructive, not dismissive or sarcastic or too angry, etc. Make sure you can say apologise for the things that are yours, that you are accountable for, and forgive the other person for things. Don't keep that resentment going, because ongoing resentment is just a destructive death trap for the relationship. So the next thing is preventing conflict. So just getting into a healthy habit in your relationship, being able to check in, being able to communicate in real time. So if something is bothering you right now is the time to say, hey, that actually hurt my feelings, or I don't actually feel good about this situation. Don't hold on to it. Wait for, the compounding effect. I don't know if you have realised that in your relationship, but sometimes all those little things bank up, and then what happens is there's an explosion later down the track, and then it's very hard to identify what is it that we're actually fighting about. Is it, the garage door wasn't locked? Is it the fact that the dishes were in the sink? Is it the fact that, you spent $200 on your hair? Or is it just a whole stack of stuff, in between? So being able to check in and talk about what's going on in the relationship, how are you feeling? How are we going? Was this week good for you? Just having normal conversations half the time will allow people to bring up those little things. Being an active listener, just with our phones, sometimes it's really easy to be scrolling on the phone, not actually listening to someone else. And I know that I sometimes feel that as well. People are distracted. You're halfway through a sentence, you stop talking, the other person doesn't even notice that you were talking in the first place. It does feel dismissive. So being able to be present, have conversations, have a meal together, look at each other, and be able to put the devices and the work and everything and the kids even to the side. I know in our house it's hard to have a conversation because there is a 6-year-old that's interrupting continuously. It can be hard. Humour's a great resetter of things, being able to have a laugh. I know sometimes if there's a bit of tension going, I'll say, do you need to talk about this? Come on. And just get a bit lighter and have a laugh together. Sometimes it helps if somebody else initiates some playfulness. So the final thoughts on this topic is that it is a team sport. Relationships are a team sport. There's not one person in a relationship. There's two. It's back and forth, and it's not easy, and it's not about us versing each other. There's no me versus you. It's us and the relationship working towards having happiness together. It's about building a bond, and conflict is just an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to understand each other better and to also build a stronger bond. So next time you are finding yourself arguing, ask yourself, is this bringing us closer together or pushing us apart? Where do I want this interaction to end? Because sometimes it's just about, right in this moment, I'm so angry, I don't care. But if you're honest with yourself, ask yourself, where would I ideally like this conflict to end? If I could had a magic wand and I could say boom, I want everything just like this, what would that be? And then thinking about, am I moving closer to that or away from that? And maybe even being able to communicate to the other person, look, what I'd like most is for us to sit down and by the end of the conversation for us to actually both feel that we've been heard, that we've been understood, and to have a plan how we're going to move forward on this. Not everything's solvable in one conversation. Sometimes we need to get professional help. Sometimes each of us needs to seek therapy separately, and we might need to get therapy together. There are people that are trained in helping us to move past and through things, and to also be able to, do some self-reflection, see what it is that we actually want or what's going on for us. So I hope that today's conversation has given you some valuable insights. No relationship's perfect, but when we have a bit of patience and try and understand, and we're willing to talk together, communicate and grow together, and fight fair, fight clean, avoid using inflammatory language. This is going back to, I remember a boss that I had many, many years ago. He said that most relationship breakdowns are caused by inflammatory language. And for me, what that means is the blame. It's the name calling. It's the insulting. It's the sarcasm. It's that swearing. It's the stuff that does not feel nice and it's not constructive. It is not constructive to call someone a name or be abusive. We're actually, in that moment, we're attacking. So inflammatory language is a problem. Try to fight healthy and clean and talk about your feelings rather than name calling and blaming and that kind of thing. So this is Naomi Stockman on Alive 90.5 on the Lights On radio show. Stay tuned for more great content and I'll be back shortly. Thanks for listening. Naomi Stockman, Lights On radio show. I've been talking about managing conflict in relationships, but before we wrap up today's conversation about navigating conflict in relationships, I want to leave you with a simple, powerful truth. And that is that appreciation is the glue that holds relationships together. So I want you to just think quickly about the last time your partner did something small that was for you or helped you, something that you maybe could have some appreciation for. Maybe it was just making you a coffee or bringing you a snack or just listening, being there for you when you had a rough day. So here's the question. Did you acknowledge it? It's really easy to get caught up in the daily grind and just focus on what's missing or what's frustrating in a relationship. But when we shift our focus to gratitude, and we all know this already, gratitude can make a world of difference. And research shows that couples who regularly express appreciation feel more connected, they have less conflict, and they build a stronger emotional bond. So here's a little challenge for you today. Today, I'd like you to tell your partner one specific thing that you appreciate about them. I don't mean just saying I love you. I mean something deeper, something that's specific to them. Like, I love how you always make me laugh when I'm stressed, or I appreciate how hard you work for our family. It might seem small, but trust me, that consistent appreciation can transform a relationship because good feelings are contagious. And when you make somebody else feel good, and there's a saying actually that says, no one will remember what you did or said, they will only remember how you made them feel. So if you can give a bit of gratitude, it's good for you, it's good for them, everyone wins. So with that, we wrap up today's program. Thank you for tuning in to Alive 90.5. I'm Naomi Stockman, reminding you that love isn't just about the big moments, but it's about the little things we do every day, keeping it clean in our conflict and staying kind, staying grateful, and staying in love.